They aren't just soccer players. Ashlyn Harris, Krieger, Leroux and Alex Morgan are change agents, 4 of the most prominent female athletes in the country, whose diverse perspectives and advocacy have helped change the national conversation around sports, from same-sex marriage to protections from coach abuse. Recently, they joined me to explore one of the 8 rights in the Children's Bill of Rights in sports, the right of kids to have fun. Okay, well, welcome everyone. Alex, great to see you. You were at the Project Play Summit last year. And thanks to GoGo squeeZ, you brought a couple of your friends this time.
Some fellow moms.
That's right. So I want to talk to you about fun, unpacking this idea of what it means, for different kids of different ages. So let's go back to the start. You're 5, you're 6 years old, you're entering sports for the first time. What did sports mean for you at that age? Let's start with you, Allie.
Sport meant a team environment, just to go out and have fun, play freely, not have to feel the pressure of winning. It was just really enjoyable to be around friends and learning and just enjoy the sport that you love to play. And so I think that is what it represented for me.
Yeah. How about Sid?
Sport for me, I think, was all about having fun, and especially at a young age, being around my friends and scoring goals, and we still enjoy doing that today. But yeah, that's what sport was to me, and it still is that for me now. I love being around my friends. We love winning, we love scoring goals, and yeah.
Yeah, and Ashlyn, were you pretty competitive at 5 and 6, or was it just free play, run around, chase the butterflies?
I was a really competitive child, but so I grew up actually playing with boys because I had an older brother. So I felt when I started playing organized sports, it was literally just the freedom to be myself and to have a safe environment where I was fully accepted. And at the time, it didn't matter if I was a girl playing on a boys' team. I just really was able to be who I wanted to be in those moments and feel safe and surrounded by people who cared about me. And I think that was why I stuck to it so long. It just, I had this overall sense of freedom.
Mm-hmm. Were all kids that way at that age, or were there kids on the team who maybe weren't wired to chase their dreams in soccer or whatever else it may be? And I think about my daughter. I remember when she was 7 years old, and she was that kid who ran on the outside of the beehive. She did not want to be in the middle of it, right? And the parents are going a little crazy, and some of these girls are on their 9th season of soccer. And Anna checked out for about 3 years. She's like, I thought she was done with team sports. Field hockey came to her town, lacrosse came to her town. Nobody knew how to play the game, and she got back into team sports. Ended up being all conference in field hockey. But are all kids? How do we make room for the kids like Anna so they don't check out of sports when they're 6 and 7 years old?
I mean, I think the coaches really matter. Your environment, making it more than just about the sport. What I think of when I was younger is we would all bring snacks to training and games, and it was like a family outing. So I think having support from parents and siblings is big too. And then also giving your child your son or your daughter the freedom to choose whether they want to play soccer or basketball or an individual sport, maybe swimming, and not forcing them into one thing because that's the history of our family. My family was a big baseball, softball family, but I didn't want to play softball. I wanted to play soccer more. And so my dad was like, well, okay, I guess I'll have to learn the rules of soccer. With a little resistance, he did. But I think it's things like that make you love a certain sport more.
So next thing you know, he's telling you to boot the ball down the field, right?
Oh yeah, he had no idea what to say. He was my coach until I was like, okay, Dad, you're gonna have to be a parent now. Time to take it to the sidelines.
Yeah. And what do you think? Any other ideas on how to keep those girls in the game?
Yeah, I think it's critical at that age to just allow your kid to be a kid and to do what they want to do that they think is fun. And I think when kids, stop wanting to play, that's when you see a result of parents maybe putting a lot of pressure, or they're only playing one sport and they're forced into playing that one sport. I feel like playing a lot of sports, like when I was young, I played 3 different sports, or 4 sometimes. I was in tumbling, I was in basketball, volleyball, soccer. And I feel like you learn also other skills in other sports that you can apply to, you know, soccer if that's your favorite. So I feel like what Alex said, allow your kid to be a kid, allow them to enjoy whatever they want to do, and let them find their own path, you know, and just have that support, like she mentioned, not that pressure.
So sort of like allowing the child to have ownership of the game instead of parents owning the game. But that's kind of hard, right? If you're a parent and your daughter or your son is the one scoring all the goals, and all of a sudden you start getting ideas about getting them on the club team and scholarships and who knows, playing for the national team later on. I mean, how could a parent manage those kinds of emotions and expectations?
I feel like the number one question I get about Cassius, my son, is he going to play soccer? And I'm sure we're all going to hear that, you know, for the rest of our lives. Is our kids going to play? And I think the most important thing is to allow them to be passionate about something. It doesn't have to be soccer. And, you know, like Alex, I came from a baseball family too. And I was in baseball, I played with the boys, I was in Taekwondo. And I think, again, like, put them in everything and let them choose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what did your mother do? Did she talk to you about sports as a kid, or she just signed you up?
Yeah, I mean, my mom is a very athletic woman, and she was a national team player for softball in Canada. And of course, you know, she wanted me to play, you know, baseball and softball like her family, but then she saw me play soccer and she loved it. And I think, you know, that's the most important, just allowing me to be and to do whatever I wanted to do, and she just followed.
Yeah. What do we need to know about what makes what makes sports fun for boys versus girls, right? So we know kids generally play sports for the same reasons. Girls, according to our data, are slightly more likely to play because they want to be with their friends or belong to something that's larger than themselves. They're slightly less motivated to play because they want to win games. Doesn't mean girls aren't competitive, doesn't mean they don't want to win. Every kid is wired differently. But when you hear insights like that, what runs through your mind in terms of how to approach girls and make sure it's an experience that is meeting their needs?
Well, I think girls like have a lot of pressures more than boys in terms of just like image, who your friends are, like you have to excel in all things. And I think like boys aren't, like those pressures aren't on boys as a young age. Is it right? No, but that's the world we live in today. And so I think for girls, like they want to be accepted by their peers, and to like have a team to like play on, to have teammates and friendships, I think is like a huge thing in our confidence and helping like us kind of feel confident not only in sport but outside of sport too, with friendships outside of sport, with academics, with hobbies. I think like that kind of that team environment is like a huge confidence and self-belief booster for girls.
Yeah. Any other insights to add?
That's such a great point. I would say also, I mean, I don't have all the data between, you know, boys and girls or this or that. I just think the importance is maybe changing the conversation and asking the right questions as a kid. So not forcing so much on result, but I can speak for myself and say sport has helped me navigate and gain tools to navigate like my life experiences, right? So, you know, I think parents, I know you spoke about this, play such an important role of not being like, hey, did you win or lose? But what did you learn from this? How do you feel in this moment? What did you enjoy most about today? I think if we can change the conversation and not be so much result driven, we wouldn't feel those pressures, especially as women. You know, we have added pressures on look and likeness and all these different things. So I do think changing our tone and our conversation with our children is important, and not being so results and like winning driven. And I think that's when women or young girls start to pull away.
Yeah, just redefining the meaning of success.
Yes. And I think like we remind ourselves of that every day too. Like we're not going to win all the time. We're not going to be successful all the time on the field. And so like we can't be defined as humans by like the success or like how good we are on the field. You know, we're going to have good and bad days. And so we're much more than that. And I have to continue to tell myself to like enjoy the journey, because at the end of the day, like even if you win, if you weren't confident and you didn't like enjoy the process, you're not going to really even enjoy the end result, regardless of winning or losing.
Yep. So let's spin forward. We talked about what fun meant when you're 5 and 6 years old and you're first entering sports. Jump ahead 10 years. Now you're 15 or 16. How does the idea of fun change, if at all? Start, Sid?
Fun for me, I think the competitiveness of like that is fun for me. I like to compete, and I think at that age, 14, 15, 16, you're competing at that time. For me, I moved away when I was 14 years old because I knew that I wanted to play on the best team in the world, and that was here. So I moved out of my house in Canada, and I lived with teammates, and I basically, grew up on my own, and it was all about that competition. That's where I found fun.
You all agree with that?
Yeah, I feel like that's something that a lot of us had when we were really young, or else I don't think we'd be sitting here. I feel like, you can learn that to a certain extent, but I think that is something that is just inside of each and every one of us that make it to the highest level. We have that certain drive and that dedication and that willingness and want to be competitive. And that is something that I think we just naturally have, and that is what makes this so much fun for us. Then going back to what Ash and Alex said, you do have to just enjoy the journey amongst the competitiveness that we have and that we've instilled in each other over this amount of time. So when you're young, it's like super fun just to be out there with your team, and then you start to get, okay, well, I'm really good at this, I love winning, and now it's kind of changing into, okay, winning is fun, and then we're winning more often, and that's really fun. And so it's kind of this like, how much more competitive can we be? How much more fun can we have? But they're right, you have to always then go back to
Well, and
the
then
first
in your
stage.
cases, you had children. And the great thing about having kids is that natural sense of play and joy, right? I mean, so having kids, how has that reminded you, if at all, of just what true play and joy look like in physical movement?
I think true joy is being with my daughter. I never realized like that I could be this happy in life. And so if I'm not happy with soccer, you can really tell the difference, because you actually know how happy you are, raising a daughter and son for Sid. So for me, it's kind of knowing that if I'm not happy playing soccer, like I can walk away at any moment. Like there's nothing keeping me there. Like life is much bigger than soccer at the end of the day. And so I think about it in terms of we have finite careers playing soccer. And so I do want to enjoy my last years, however many years that is, of playing. I'm trying to enjoy it as much as possible and bring the joy that I have at home with my daughter onto the field.
So in terms of like changing the culture of youth sports to be the best possible culture, what role can mothers play in driving that change? I mean, you're the ones who sign your kids up for sports. You could have conversations with the coaches. You're all famous. You have platforms now. What do you think you can do first and foremost as mothers, and then as mothers who have a platform?
Take over the team.
Oh God,
Move over,
it's gonna be a
coach.
real
We're
treat.
coming in. No, just kidding.
I think like supporting moms is the first thing, companies supporting moms, their employers where those moms work, their employers supporting them in order to be able to not only be a mom, but also, still continue to build a business, play soccer, be the soccer coach on your daughter or son's team, you know, be able to do more. You need to be supported, both like financially, but also you have to feel like you can do it all. If you're not supporting, you don't feel like you can do it all, then you're limited in that. And so I think like we're starting to get to a place in sport where we feel very supported as a mom, and as moms, I feel like 2 years, 5 years ago, that wasn't really the case.
I mean, one of the things we've seen is that only 1 out of every 4 youth coaches in sports is a woman. And that number hasn't really changed very much, despite Title IX and everything else. So getting more mothers into the game of coaching, we know how important coaches are. Is it that, Alex, just somehow being supportive so not everything is, and you know how busy mothers are already, so to add the coaching of a team, what's the key to lifting that number?
I mean, it's hard because I'm sure a majority, you know, Sid has 2 kids, so it's like, you know, what is, you know, mothers who have multiple children at home, what are they doing in those moments? Like, you know, not, yeah, Sid was raised by a single parent as well, so it's like you understand that more than anyone. It's a little bit difficult, right? So especially when you're a stay-at-home mom or raising a child by yourself.
What is in terms of making soccer as accessible to all kids from all backgrounds, zip codes or otherwise, what's the key there? I mean, how do we make it more racially and ethnically diverse?
I think the prices of youth soccer are outrageous, and I think that a lot of these families who can't afford to, you know, provide that for their child to play on just a club team, or some of the best players go unseen because of the amount of money that parents have to pay into these club teams, and a lot of families can't afford that. They can barely put food on their table, let alone, you know, allow their kid to go play on, you know, a specific club team in the area. So I feel like that's something that I feel needs to be reevaluated and readjusted in the model that we have at youth soccer, to not, you know, surpass some of the best players who might not be able to afford, you know, their parents paying thousands of dollars a month just to go play soccer twice a week.
I'll add to that. I think what I'm so proud, especially the women sitting here, is representation. I think that's huge, and clearly you can see by the 4 of us, you know, we, gay, straight, black, white, I feel like representation is very, very important for our youth. For a child to say, oh, Sydney looks like me, I can do that, I can be Sid. Or, you know, someone looks at Allie and I, and hey, my family looks just like them. And, you know, and Alex, same way. I think representation is huge, and diversity is huge, and that's what I love so much about our team and the women sitting here today is you can identify with so many different people, and I'm hopeful that a young child can see that and say, I want to be that when I grow up.
Sid, anything to add?
I think accessibility, you know, like it needs to be accessible for everyone. Are we doing it in schools? You know, can we put more sports in schools where it is free, where they can decide if that's what they love to do? But again, I agree, like it's visibility, feeling that you connect with someone. I think that's really important, and I think we find that a lot more now, not necessarily when we were growing up, but definitely now.
Okay.
I think like just, I was going to add and say just 2 things going off of what Sid said, accessibility. It's access to fields as well, like in all areas. So all kids can enjoy sport equally, but also for like for Orlando Pride and other professional teams, like are they providing tickets to families who might otherwise not be able to afford that, to give them that, like, to give them an opportunity to watch us play, and then a young girl or young boy be like, I want to do that when I grow up, because that's what I remember watching a team back in LA, watching Mia Hamm play and being like just in awe, like, oh my God, I can't believe that there's like a women's soccer team in the city that I live in. And so to have like access for all kids to be able to see that and have role models in front of them, that's important too.
Well, thank you for your advocacy and a really insightful conversation and your time. And we'll see you again sometime soon.
Thank you.
Okay.
Many thanks to Tom and the four amazing athlete mothers for the insightful panel on the importance of fun in youth sports. I am Ivan Girard, President and General Manager at GoGo squeeZ, and we are proud to be a sponsor of the Project Play Summit. As you heard in the panel, GoGo squeeZ has partnered with Alex, Ashlyn, Ali, and Sydney to share our goal of ensuring sports are fun and accessible to everyone. In addition to Project Play, there are many other partners helping us achieve our goal. This past week, we released the Fun Comes First playbook, developed in partnership with Leroux USA to provide parents and teachers and coaches and administrators practical information and actionable recommendations to help center youth voices in sports programming. As Project Play's first place says, ask kids what they want. We know that quality sports and play activities centered on the needs of youth athletes improves participation and retention, and in turn fosters positive outcomes for kids across a range of important development areas. To download the Fun Comes First playbook and learn more on how to implement these practices within your youth sports organization, please visit gogosqueeze.com/funcomes first.